he needs to reassure the nation that the institutions of this country, that the federal government is functioning, and that his team of national security advisors and his cabinet and he himself are addressing this situation, and that the appropriate emergency response measures have been taken. There's that. But there will also be an element of I'm sure, very unvarnished, very, very tough talk about the need to, as he said in very brief remarks that he made earlier in the day, hunt down and use the full force of the U.S. government to find out who is responsible for what the White House has called cowardly and despicable acts.
Don, it seems extraordinary that the president has waited this long. The attacks took place hours ago, this morning, at around rush hour, Eastern Daylight Time. And the president has, except for speaking briefly, as you just said,
right,
the president has not made that reassuring appearance, has not said what the United States may do.
I think that is why he is coming back tonight to make these statements. I think the White House is also picking up a sense out there that people need to hear from the president tonight.
I wondered if there might be some strategic reason for waiting.
I think that there were concerns about his safety and the security surrounding the President of the United States. They needed to make sure they had him in a place. He left Florida hastily this morning. We were told he was going to an undisclosed location. That's when he landed at the air base in Louisiana, where we got the longest comments we've had from him so far. But then again, it was off to another undisclosed location, and he's suddenly at the Strategic Air Command out in Omaha. And they clearly have decided over the course of these past several hours that it is important for him to look into the TV camera this evening and sit before the microphone and talk to all of us and the American public.
Thanks very much. NPR's White House correspondent, Don Gagne.
The attacks on the World Trade Center building in New York and the Pentagon in Washington are significant not only for their size, but also for the apparent planning and resources that made them possible. Alan Brinkley is a professor of history at Columbia University in New York City. He says today's events will force the country to view its relationship with the rest of the world differently, even as we make efforts to find those responsible for the attacks.
I think what makes this so extraordinary is the enormous scale of what happened today, and the obvious massive conspiracy that was behind it, the large-scale coordination. I mean, so many things happened that are so difficult to do today that it really does make one feel that there's a much larger force at work in this event than was at work in the Oklahoma City bombing or the first World Trade Center bombing or any of the other sort of scattered terrorist events we've had in the United States.
You have to ask yourself, if somebody was able actually to successfully hijack, more or less successfully hijack 4 aircraft, commercial airliners, today in the morning, why couldn't they have done it 2 months ago?
Clearly they have found some way around the security mechanisms we've developed. The airports from which these planes were hijacked are not low-security airports. So, I mean, I think that's what is going to take some time to sink in our national psyche is the magnitude of this event and the total secrecy within which it had been shrouded.
There have been comparisons made and will continue to be made with Pearl Harbor almost 60 years ago. 2,000 people died, and America begins an involvement in a world war. Is it a fair comparison today?
Well, it's a fair comparison and an unfair comparison. I mean, this is not an act of war in any conventional sense. I don't think anybody imagines that there will be an invasion of the United States or that large-scale military activity will, at least immediately, follow this. One of the central characteristics of our culture throughout our history has been our sense of being protected by the 2 oceans, that we're somehow separated from the rest of the world and safer, in a way, than the